Good afternoon. Anthony Aniano here from RotoBaller Radio and RotoBaller.com with a look at the 2023 Fantasy Football Waiver Wire for Week 5 of your fantasy football season. Folks, don't forget, head over to RotoBaller.com right now, sign up for that Premium Pass, use the promotional code ACES, and save at checkout. Get all sorts of great content there, the waiver wire reports, trade analysis, you name it, RotoBaller.com has you covered, including our team sync tools and lineup optimizers. Whether you play DFS or season-long format, RotoBaller.com has it covered for you for your fantasy football season. Download the RotoBaller app. It's free. 6 great sports all in one spot. Premium or regular packages, DFS, season-long, whatever you're looking for, right there in the app. And don't forget, subscribe right here to the RotoBaller YouTube channel and get all the content every week. Myself, waiver wires at the beginning of the week, sleeper and value plays at the end, and great content all in between. All right, Week 4 just about in the books. Full disclosure, recording this on Sunday evening, right? Like we always do, it's an early look at the waiver wire. So recording this Sunday evening, October 1st, before the Sunday and Monday night games. So obviously things can change a little bit, whether injury or ineffectiveness or somebody surprises in that Chiefs-Jets or Seahawks-Giants game. We did have some injuries here for Week 4 to mention real quick. The quarterback position, Kenny Pickett left with a knee. Justin Herbert's hand was a mess. You saw the brace on it. Who knows what happens with that going forward. Running back position, Javonte Williams leaves with a hip. Wide receivers, T. Higgins, a rib. Mike Evans, a hamstring. Devontae Adams came back in the game, but he banged up his shoulder. Juwan Johnson, Pat Freiermuth injured at the tight end position. And just keep in mind, too, Week 5 begins the bye weeks. Cleveland Browns, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Los Angeles Chargers, and Seattle Seahawks, all on a bye for Week 5. So, Baker Mayfield would have been one of the top ads at the quarterback position heading into Week 5, but doesn't really help, and he's not somebody I want to pick up and hold for the rest of the season. He would have been an injury replacement, so just be mindful of that going forward as you set your lineups and look at the waiver wire. But we will start at the quarterback position because there is concern on Kenny Pickett. There is concern on Justin Herbert's hand. And the one player I did want to mention today, well, there's two of them really at the quarterback position, but one I wanted to mention, Joshua Dobbs. Now, Dobbs has filled in for me in a 2QB league, and he's kind of become my second quarterback in leagues where I had Aaron Rodgers in some FFPC formats. Everybody spent their money on Zach Wilson. I got Joshua Dobbs for about $10 out of 1,000 in the FFPC, and he's paid off. On Yahoo, and remember, Yahoo roster percentage is 50% or less. Joshua Dobbs of Arizona is sitting at 5% roster. Okay, this past Sunday against San Francisco earlier today, 28 of 41, 265 yards and 2 touchdowns, 12 carries for 48 yards. In a 6-point per touchdown format, he finishes with 27.4 fantasy points, and it's time to pay a little bit of attention to that, right? In the last 3 weeks, he puts up 27 fantasy points against the Giants. Then he goes against Dallas. We think that's going to be a bloodbath. They pull off the upset. Dobbs goes for just over 19 fantasy points. And against San Francisco, now granted, Arizona couldn't keep up with San Francisco. Dobbs was effective with that 27 fantasy points against that 49er defense. I don't care if it was garbage time or not. Every point counts. Nice matchup next week for Arizona against the Cincinnati Bengals. If Herbert were to miss some time, if you're in a 2QB format, Dobbs would lead the way. If you don't get Dobbs in that format, pay attention to Sam Howell of the Washington Commanders. Again, a matchup I didn't like. Nobody did for Washington against the Philadelphia Eagles. And Washington stood there toe for toe. And Sam Howell was part of that solution, finishing with 21.6 fantasy points against the Eagles, 29 of 41, 290 yards, and a touchdown. That's the second game this season he's cracked the 290 mark. Earlier this year, he threw for 299. He ran the ball 6 times for 40 yards. Week 1 against Arizona, 17.18 fantasy points. Again, 6-point per touchdown format. Week 2 against Denver, 25.26. But let's be real about this. Every quarterback's putting up points at this point against Denver. And then Week 4, like I said, on the road in Philadelphia, 21.6. So Sam Howell, Joshua Dobbs, Sam Howell. If you're beat up by injury at the quarterback position, maybe you have Joe Burrow and you have concerns what to do going forward with Joe Burrow, and you're just looking to add depth to your bench, either of these quarterbacks are available. Dobbs, 5% rostered. Sam Howell, 18% rostered. In deeper 2 QB formats as well, Mitchell Trubisky is out there. He's the next in line if Kenny Pickett is going to miss some time. And if Justin Herbert is unable to go next week, be mindful of, although they're on a bye, so be mindful of that. So he's got 2 weeks to heal that hand up. But if this ends up being a longer-term situation, Easton Stick is listed as the number 2 quarterback for the Los Angeles Chargers. At the running back position, and the big name to add right now is Jaleel McLaughlin of the Denver Broncos. Undrafted rookie, started his collegiate career at Notre Dame, 2% rostered. He did get some buzz in the spring, and in some deep formats, he's already on rosters. But on Yahoo, he's only 2% rostered. 7 carries, 72 yards, 3 receptions for 32 yards, and a touchdown on 3 targets. 19.4 fantasy points. Samaje Perine was not the go-to guy after the Javonte Williams injury. It was McLaughlin. Samaje Perine filled in, subbed in for McLaughlin, had 6 carries for 7 yards, and Perine's already 52% rostered, so he's on teams in most cases. Jaleel McLaughlin, 2% rostered. If you're in need of running back depth, if you need somebody for bye-week fill-ins, whether, with Seattle not having Kenneth Walker, the Chargers waiting for Eckler to get back, the Bucs, Rachaad White, the Browns with the Chubb injury, Jerome Ford is in there now. Okay, Jaleel McLaughlin, if Javonte Williams misses some time with the hip, McLaughlin could be a nice add-in going forward. Another running back I just want to mention, Chuba Hubbard of the Carolina Panthers. He did out-carry Miles Sanders this week, 14-13. Remember, Sanders was questionable coming into the game. Chuba Hubbard is 25% rostered, 14 carries for 41 yards, had 2 catches for 12, 7.3 fantasy point. Nothing outstanding, but if you're looking to add a little depth to the position, if you have Miles Sanders, you may want Hubbard on your team as they go against the Detroit Lions next week. At the wide receiver position, this one's fun. Michael Wilson of the Arizona Cardinals, 3rd-round pick out of Stanford, was injured for most of his collegiate career. Otherwise, he probably would have been a higher draft pick. Had a terrific Senior Bowl. Now, I added him in things like the Scott Fish Bowl, FF Webmasters, and a few other industry leagues on Saturday as I was just scrolling through waiver wires. I had some dead weight on my roster. I grabbed him, not expecting anything. Josh Hayes, my co-host on SiriusXM, loves Michael Wilson, has been waiting for this breakout. So I grabbed him, and I said, let's see what happens. And, well, he had the breakout. Last weekend, he teased a little bit. 2 catches, 86 yards. You saw the big play from Michael Wilson. And now Michael Wilson, who's only 1% rostered on Yahoo, 7 catches on 7 targets, 76 yards, 2 touchdowns, 26.6 fantasy points. A coming out party of which for Michael Wilson. No Rondell Moore, nobody else there. Marquise Brown is still the number 1. But Michael Wilson has all the upside for the Arizona Cardinals as their youth movement continues. Arizona goes against the Cincinnati Bengals next week. Up next, Tyler Boyd of the Cincinnati Bengals. Speaking of which, with T. Higgins out with that rib injury, who knows how much time he's going to miss. Tyler Boyd could be elevated to a wide receiver 2 role in that Bengals offense. And Tyler Boyd this past week, 4 catches, 26 yards, 7 targets. But if you've been watching the last 3 weeks, he has been heavily targeted. Over those 3 weeks, he has 24 targets, 8 per game. Totally acceptable for a wide receiver 2. He's not going to get more than that with Jamar Chase in the mix. T. Higgins has been a disappointment. Now he's injured. Tyler Boyd, 37% rostered, is there on the road against the Arizona Cardinals. Up third, another one who flies under the radar, but now it might be time to pay attention to Terrence Marshall of the Carolina Panthers. 0, and I mean 0% rostered on Yahoo. Seems crazy to me. However, with all the attention going to Adam Thielen right now in Carolina, Terrence Marshall has very quietly 18 targets over his last 2 games. This past week, or earlier today I should say, 9 catches for 56 yards on 10 targets. Over the last 2 weeks, 14 catches on 18 targets. PPR format, he's PPRing you to death. 7 catches per game on average over the last 2. Finished this week with 14.6 fantasy points. Okay, Carolina next week on the road at the Detroit Lions. And my final ad of the week at the tight end position, I can't believe he hasn't been added more frequently, but Zach Ertz of the Arizona Cardinals, still sitting at 26% rostered on the year, 6 catches, 53 yards. A lot of them late in the game for Arizona, but they all count. He had 10 targets total in the game, 11.3 fantasy points. He's got 2 games this year of at least 10 targets. He's got 2 games this year of 10 or more fantasy points. And again, Arizona plays the Cincinnati Bengals next week. So if you're in need of a tight end due to injury or bye week, Zach Ertz is available in about 75% of leagues. So to recap, my 5, out of all these players, my top 5 waiver wire ads of the week. Number 1, Jaleel McLaughlin, Denver Broncos. Number 2, Michael Wilson, wide receiver, Arizona Cardinals. Number 3, Tyler Boyd, wide receiver, Cincinnati Bengals. Number 4, Terrence Marshall, wide receiver, Carolina Panthers. And the number 5 ad of the week, Zach Ertz, tight end, Arizona Cardinals. All right, everybody. As always, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time right here on RotoBaller Radio.